This one is a follow-up on the previous video that I did a couple days ago about jobs that are worse, actually worse than DoorDash or doing any gig app delivery. What if I told you that I discovered what the actual term for this type of job is? The companies that provide these types of jobs, or quote-unquote jobs, I should say, the term for them is a Devilcorp. DEVIL and then CORP, short for corporation, of course. A Devilcorp is a company that's basically a multi-level marketing scheme of very deceptive sorts. It's actually worse than your typical MLM. And these companies post these positions as actual jobs on Indeed. And as I mentioned previously, I was contacted by one of these recruiters late last week. And a Devilcorp is a commission-only sales type of job. You work long hours in a big box retailer such as Walmart or Costco, selling things like cell phone plans and things of that nature. And they promote quote-unquote fun activities as part of the quote-unquote culture. But you're working 80-hour weeks and doing it for very little pay. So in that regard, it's far worse than DoorDashing or Uber Eats driving. Far worse than gig app delivery. Now, the way they get you, of course, is that they post on legitimate job boards such as Indeed, which is where they found me. I was contacted to set up an interview. I looked at the company and I looked at my jobs list, job applications on the Indeed app. I never applied for this job. You know, you get in the middle of a job hunt, you're getting requests to set up interviews on the regular for legitimate jobs that you may have applied to. This was not one of those. This was a company that I called them immediately, and I knew which questions to ask. And those were, is this a sales job? Is this in a big box store? And they said, yes, they said, they didn't even say yes. They said, our biggest client is Walmart. Ding, 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 ding. Immediately knew I was working with dealing with the Devilcorp. And you're working 8-hour weeks, no benefits, by the way. With no benefits, no guaranteed income, commission-only sales. Which leads me to wonder, why do these big legitimate companies work with Devilcorps? Why do they even allow them in their stores to begin with? I'd like to answer that question at some point. If anybody has any insight, drop it in the comments. But in the meanwhile, there is a term for this type of company, and it's a Devilcorp. How they came up with that name, I'm not sure, but it fits. A Devilcorp is providing a job that virtually nobody wants. One of the other big tip-offs, and I never got this far because I knew how to nip it in the bud this time. But in the past, I've interviewed with Devilcorps. Interviews with Devilcorps are actually extremely ludicrously easy. They don't even ask about your background. They don't even ask about your experience. They are there to hire anybody, and I mean anybody, which makes gig economy drivers very susceptible to these scam jobs. A complete sham. You work for a company like this, and you are actually financially worse off than you are driving full-time for DoorDash or Uber Eats, which is hard to imagine, but it is out there. But these exist. So again, how do you identify a Devilcorp? Well, if the interview is in an office that has very Spartan facilities, it looks like it's a short-term rental. They're not permanently based there. It's just a short-term rental with maybe a few chairs. And it seems like also if this has got a waiting area, or it seems like the entire city is in there waiting for an interview. That's because they're going for volume. They're expecting to get rejected by large numbers of their interviewees, quote unquote. But they're looking to hire anybody, and I mean anybody. No guaranteed income, all commission. No benefits, no health benefits at all. And Devilcorp employment, of course, has been compared to being in a cult. And given that I'm a survivor of a major cult of the 80s and 90s and zeros, I know what they're talking about. It is a us against the world bunker mentality that these companies have. Their employees are pushed to work 80-hour weeks in big box stores, with their only income coming from selling products, usually like cell phone plans or things like that. If you're ever at a Costco or a Walmart and you see somebody at a table selling AT&T plans, chances are very high that you're looking at somebody that's employed by a Devilcorp. So if the interview process seems way too easy, if it seems like everybody under the sun is waiting in the lobby for an interview, and if the office is very Spartan, it looks like it's a very temporary setup, if all of these are true, I would quietly just pick up my stuff and just head out the exit door. You don't have to say a word. Just leave. And allow your quest for actual full-time employment outside of the gig apps. Take it somewhere else. Don't even bother these people. Don't even give them the time of day. In my case, when I called the Devilcorp back, and they told me that everything was their main client was Walmart. I immediately knew what I was up against. I hung up. I didn't even give them a chance to respond. I just hung up. So when they tell you when people are critics on these boards tell you to go out there and get a real job, this is not it. This is not a real job. It's a multi-level marketing cult. They also advertise unrealistic expectations for promotion to management, quote unquote. Well, management means that you're in the position of that shame interviewer in that Spartan office, looking to hire new suckers or recruits for their commission-only sales job. Again, jobs that nobody wants. Nobody volunteers for these jobs without the levels of deception that these Devilcorps go through. So, yes, you can do worse than gig driving. I've seen it, and now I know that there is actually a term for it that's been invented. It's the Devilcorps. And it's straight out of hell. You get involved in an interview, quote unquote interview, with any of these characteristics, just walk out. Don't even say a word. Just leave. Or in my case, if they call you to quote unquote interview you, you get the answer to the questions that you're looking for, just hang up immediately. I did, and I am not looking back, and I'm proud of myself for doing it. So yes, there it is, guys. The Devilcorp. Worse than driving for DoorDash. Worse than driving for Uber Eats. Worse than driving for Roadie. Worse than any app driving at all. That is it. I'll see you on the next go around. As always, peace out, homies.